So, Platinum trophies. This is all this is. I just wanted to go over trophies I have acquired Platinum-wise throughout a bunch of games. Not all because some are duplicates, but I figured that I've always wanted this might be fun, show what kind of games I have gone for Platinums, explain why and why I don't go for some. It just gives me an excuse to ramble about games I both love and some I don't like, but Platinum anyways out of, one could say, spite. But let's get to it. Alright, so we're starting it off with Bloodborne, my official first Platinum on this account. I love this game from its atmosphere, its exceptional art direction, enemy design, its magnificent combat. Oh, and let's not even get started on the incredible soundtrack. I have listened to this game's soundtrack more times than I can count through YouTube or even Spotify. I love it. It's one of my favorites that I will continue to listen to this day. Yeah, great soundtrack. That's not my favorite track in the entire soundtrack in general. It's just not. I prefer, say, some of the DLC ones, like Living Failures, possibly my favorite. The final boss theme, just the fact that Bloodborne has good end credits music helps. It's not licensed music, it's just good music. But aside from that, in terms of Platinum difficulty, I'd say it's not too bad. It's a lot of just collecting things to an extent, getting all the weapons, all the hunter tools, and beating every boss. I'm pretty sure every boss has a trophy associated with it. And the main one being, though, that unless you cheat through like exploiting, I don't exactly know how, it's something through the console, but you need to beat the game at least 3 times during the Platinum, since there's 3 endings and each one has a trophy associated with it. For me, that was worth it. I did it that way. I didn't cheat. I went through it 3 times, because at this point I've been through it maybe fucking 20 times. It's hard to say. It's one of my most played games on the entire PlayStation 4/5. It's my personal... I don't know if it's my favorite Souls game anymore. Elden Ring kind of gives this one a run for its money, but it's definitely a close race between the two of them. It's Bloodborne. I love this game to death. I would love a sequel, but I don't know if you can improve upon perfection like this. They could try. I would be more than willing to watch them try. Love this game. I'm one of the few people who also likes the Chalice Dungeons. Should mention you have to do Chalice Dungeons if you want to get Platinum, because the final boss of them, she's, I think, the only one with a trophy, one of the only ones in the Chalice Dungeon with a trophy associated with it. But yeah, it is not a hard Platinum if you ask me, compared to like Dark Souls 1, which is a pain, but I haven't got that one. Yeah, good old Bloodborne. At number 2, we have Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, Game of the Year edition. Not much of a difference, but it just includes all the DLC with it. I didn't get all that, but I did get the Platinum for the main game, which was the main goal. This was a very pleasant surprise when it released back in 2014, especially when we didn't have much to play on PS4s back then. And hell, I barely used it that whole year. I used it for this and Wolfenstein, and I think I still played Battlefield 4 quite a lot. No, I was definitely playing that a lot. That was the main thing. But Shadow of Mordor was a really impressive game. No one expected it to be this good. The gameplay looked cool enough, but I don't know. I only bought it because it got surprisingly good reviews out of nowhere, and I was like, well, fuck, I like Lord of the Rings, so why not? It does play loose with the lore. It's not like canon or anything, but it's fun. It's just a, hey, you want to hack up some orcs, and there's this weird hierarchy system that's shockingly in-depth and will only get improved in the sequel? Well, then play Shadow of Mordor. It's really shockingly good. You'll have a great time. You get to behead orcs and shit and ride weird things called Caragors or Graugs, and you can use the Graug to eat people, or rather orcs. The story sucked. The final boss sucked, but overall it was a really great game. Made by Monolith, the people behind Fear. It was a surprisingly outstanding game, with a lot of people putting it on their Game of the Year. I think even I would have that year as well. 2014 was a pretty shit year, so it's not like there was much competition, but I mean, this game was great, so yeah, I'd probably put this above Wolfenstein: The New Order. It's another one I gotta get back and try and Platinum. But yeah, love Shadow of Mordor almost as much as its great sequel. Alright, speaking of Shadow of Mordor sequel, here's Shadow of War. A also fairly easy platinum. Maybe a little harder depending on how you go at the trophies. Certain ones just are kind of a pain because if you level too much, then you just can't get it as easily. There's one for getting a kill, like killing a captain, an enemy one, while riding a Graug or something. Or not a Graug, an Olag, which you just basically... You grab onto it and he keeps repeatedly stabbing it while you control it around. It just attacks basically on its own, but it does such minimal damage to late game captains. It's beyond irritating to do. I still did it. That was one of the last trophies I actually got. I did not get nearly all the DLC trophies. The DLC in this game, I don't know. I kind of liked it a lot less, mostly. I didn't mind the Baranor one because I like the map and you get to use in the base game. But I didn't play the other one where he plays the elf. I just had no interest in it. But I do genuinely love this game, mainly for its the base game. The base game was so great, except for the microtransactions at the time. But I was never too bothered by it, more just because I didn't find them nearly as intrusive as people said they were. I mean, it's hard to say now how bad they were since it's no longer in the game. But it still didn't bother me as much. But yeah, not much to say about Shadow of War. It's very similar to Mordor, just a kind of improvement in almost every way. The Nemesis system is so much better. Combat's better. There's more, build diversity, if you will. It's just a lot of fun. Love it to death. Alright, we have Stranger Brigade. This actually falls into the, category of wasn't planning to platinum it, got it more just because of chance. So whenever I play a game, trophies are usually kind of the least important aspect. It's always fun to get them, but I never go out of my way unless it seems easy enough. With few exceptions, there are a few games on here that I went for because I felt like I had to, almost based on nostalgia reasons or whatever. But I wasn't planning to platinum this. I was playing the fucking Horde mode multiplayer once, and a player got in and helped get a trophy that I was expecting to never get. I couldn't even tell you which one it was. And then I realized platinum was in sight and got it not long after. It's not the easiest platinum, but it's not too bad if I could do it by pure chance more than anything. Otherwise, Strange Brigade is a fun game. It's the only Rebellion game I've platinum. I am close to platinuming another one of those games. Might talk about later. But yeah, I don't typically go for platinum in their games. It's a lot of annoying, tedious trophies most of the time. They also are a fan of having multiplayer trophies in their games that are mostly single-player focused, or at the very least co-op focused. But yeah, I mean, Strange Brigade's a fun game. I love this game a lot. It's a surprisingly enjoyable third-person, I guess, horde shooter where you fight mummies and scorpions and shit in ancient Egypt. Or not really ancient Egypt, but still, it's like old-timey Egypt. Fun game. Surprisingly fun game, in fact.
A locked gate? An abandoned camp? The plot thickens.
Alright, now we have Doom. Specifically, 2016's Doom. The reboot slash technically number 4. It's a very good game. It's actually shockingly easy platinum since it was kind of easy, the game overall. There's one multiplayer trophy, if I remember, which is just get to like level 25. Very easy. It takes like a day. Hell, it takes like an hour. Very short, easy. But, the game's fun, so who cares? It's a nice little bonus. It's not too much of a headache to go for platinum on this game. It's kind of shocking. This is the first time I played it in a while, how goddamn well this game has aged, though. I mean, sure, it's only from 2016, but there are some games from then and even later that have aged much, much worse. But this game looks really nice. At times, it looks better than the newest one, Doom Eternal. Only at times, and only slightly. I think it more just comes down to liking the art style in this more than Eternals, which is a bit just all over the place. That being said, Eternal's a better game. Haven't platinumed that one, unfortunately. That's got far too many multiplayer trophies, and no one actually seems to play that multiplayer. It's almost like it sucks. But no, this game was great. The multiplayer wasn't so great, but it was fun enough, and at least there's only one trophy, to my knowledge, associated with it. There are a bunch of DLC trophies for multiplayer, since that's pretty much all we got for DLC in this game. And you know, those are a bonus. At least you don't have to get them for platinum, so it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, not much to say about this anymore. It's Doom. It's a good ass game, and it's an easy platinum. I recommend trying it. So I was mentioning games that I feel like I need to platinum. That kind of just only goes towards the Spyro games. These were my childhood. I played these so much as a kid, so platinuming them was kind of a very, I don't know, it was kind of like I had to. I wasn't going at first because the remakes have some issues. I'm not a fan of Activision as a company, and I most certainly am not a fan of the fact that you don't actually get all three of these games on the disc. It's a trilogy, and there's only one game actually in its entirety on the physical copy of the game. Spyro 2 and 3, some of it is on the disc, but it's like 10%, so the rest is you need internet access to install. These pure single-player games that came out in the fucking 90s. And sure, these are great, beautiful remakes, but we have games that have better graphics than these. Like, say, Doom and Doom Eternal were the base game. Like, you know, obviously excluding DLCs, unless you have, like, the complete edition, but all that's on the disc, and they're bigger games, and I think even more gigs. I don't understand why it's like this. I know this is turning into more of a rant about this, but it's such a shame, because I would love to play this in my older years one day for nostalgia's sake, but it's sad to say it's probably better off to just buy the originals and play it that way on like a PS3 or a fucking PS1 if you can find it. Like, these remakes are really good, which sucks. Like, graphically, they look fucking fantastic. The art direction is masterful. The soundtrack, it's the same music from the original, or you get a remix version, which is also quite good. I prefer the original. The original, great music from Stuart Copeland. Love the music. I love the look. I love playing them. There's such a nice simplicity to these old platformers. Just always enjoyed them. Just wish the remake wasn't so fucking scummy. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty great, and also very easy. It's an easy platinum. It's just a collectathon. Get everything, you got the platinum. Hell, you don't even have to do that with Spyro 3, which we'll get to.
Their metal armor is fireproof, but a charge attack will take care of them.
Okay, of course, after platinuming the first game, had to do the sequel, Spyro 2, Richter's Rage, my personal favorite of the original trilogy. And reigns true today. Love it. I adore it. And it's got my favorite soundtrack, probably of the entire trilogy. Else, but you know, yeah, still, you don't get the whole game on the disc. What a bummer. I would have absolutely been fine with Spyro 1 only being 10% compared to like 2 and 3. Even though I would rather obviously all be on the disc. I can't. It's like the one thing that's everyone's going to talk about if they're like in any way care about like physical preservation of games, because Activision sucks. I don't know. I don't get it, because I think this came out a few years, or at least a year after Crash Bandicoot fucking got its trilogy remaster, and I'm pretty sure all three of those are on the disc. Tony Hawk got a fucking remaster of the first two games, and again, both are on the disc. That's probably the best remake Activision put out, if I have to be giving my opinion on that. It's a shame, because this would be my favorite, but the fucking fact that I will one day not be allowed to play 2 and 3 unless I keep this fucking trilogy installed forever, and it's like 50 gigs, so I'm not going to do that. It's just a bummer. But to get back onto a positive note, it is great. The game itself is fantastic. The color palette and the just the look of everything, the soundtrack. Nothing is downgraded here. It's just better. The soundtrack by far is better. The villain is better. The boss fights, there's only 3 this time, unlike the 6 or 5 there were in the first game that were all terrible. But all the boss fights here are great. It's just a massive improvement overall. And it's the reason I played it so much more than the first one when I was a kid. Okay, so naturally we end the trilogy with Spyro 3: Year of the Dragon. A lot of people's favorite, not my favorite. It's my second favorite. It's still really good. Spyro 2 is a 10 out of 10. This game's a 9.7. I love all three of them, but this is just not as beloved by me but as much as 2. I have fond memories of it, if anything, mainly just back when I was a kid. I had a friend who was also a very big Spyro fan, and while we both owned the first one, it changed when it came to the second and third. I owned the second, but he owned the third, so we would trade or lend each other the opposite game every once in a while. It's just like, I feel like 3 again. Oh, cool! I feel like playing 2 again. Awesome! Here you go. And then that would be it. Because back then it was this a simple thing. Because every game was physical, where you just hand the person the physical copy of a game, and all they needed was a memory card on the console, and they're good. They didn't even have to fucking install it. Man, if anything, it makes me feel kind of old at this point. But all the same, I love this game. It's great. The soundtrack is not any worse. I just personally prefer the second game soundtrack. But overall, this is still fantastic game from Insomniac. And yeah, easy platinum. Okay, so I'm afraid we're not done with remasters and remakes yet. We have now Destroy All Humans, a remaster of I believe it was 2005 game by Pandemic Studios. Studio I and my brother have very fond memories of, mainly because of Star Wars Battlefront, Mercenaries, Lord's Conquest. But this is another great game from them. And the remaster, whatever, I think it's more classified as a remake. It's exceptional. And granted, not even a game I was going to plan on platinuming. I don't know what possessed me to decide, yeah, I'll platinum this game, because it wasn't a fun platinum. The game itself is fun, but going for the fucking trophies, at least some of them, the challenge ones especially, were not enjoyable. Having to do like the races perfectly, a single fuck up, and then it's like, oh no, start over, because the controls are weird and take a lot of getting used to when it comes to racing under a time limit, sometimes pretty strict time limit. I mainly bought this because I wanted to just blow up Earth, is the whole reason. Just destroy planets and the U.S. Army and whatever. It's stupid, schlocky, and it's fun. There's not much to say. It's a fun game that is worth buying, especially if you want something a bit more old school, a bit more video gamey, and it's just entertaining in general. So now we have a platinum for a remaster of an old PS2 game called SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That's the remaster title, at least. I never played this as a kid. This was just this came out of nowhere. When this got announced, I thought it was a different SpongeBob game that I did play called Lights Camera Pants, a Mario Party clone-ish thing that I liked, so I thought it was that, and I was wrong. It's actually a platformer collectathon thing. In terms of platinum, it's actually very easy, and in terms of game quality, it's shockingly good. I wasn't gonna buy this, at least not right away, but then a reviewer who I didn't expect to ever talk about this ended up reviewing it and saying it was like a pleasant little wholesome game, and I was like, yeah, fuck it. It's like a half off type game. It's like a $40 AA game from a publisher that I've grown to like over the years. For not only this is from the same people who brought the Destroy All Humans remake, not the same developer but same publisher, THQ Nordic, and it's good. I don't have any real complaints about it. It's just a very fun platformer that I highly suggest giving a shot.
Or the next. Or possibly even the next, or 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 the next after that. But the one after the next, after the next, after the next, after that. Well, that one after that, right next to that one, that will be my day.
Now we have the PS4/5 exclusive Marvel's Spider-Man, an open-world superhero game where you play as Spider-Man. I'll be honest, despite probably getting yelled at for this, I personally don't really care for this game. I'm not a big superhero fan anyways, and, you know, the MCU, while I enjoyed some of the movies, I haven't cared about it for a long time. Way longer than, you know, oh, Phase 4 was bad, and Phase 5 is bad right now. Like, I don't care. I was uninterested by the end of, like, Phase 2. I like some of the movies a lot. The Guardians movies, and the first Iron Man, and two of the Captain America movies, and that's kind of it. I don't know. It just never grabbed me as much because it just wasn't for me. I like some superhero movies, like the old Raimi Spider-Man movies, but that's about it. And you know, Incredibles. In terms of Platinums, though, it's easy. There's no challenge to platinum this. It's just do everything basically, get all the suits and shit like that. But it's a gorgeous looking game, as I'm sure you could tell. And yeah, it was made by Insomniac. Same people who made Spyro and Ratchet, so they know how to make a good-looking game. We all know this, but yeah, I'll never play this again. Alright, next we have Ghost of Tsushima. I did pretty much the bare minimum with this. Just the main trophies, barely anything else. I haven't even played the DLC yet, and I don't really have much of a desire to. You know, I really liked this game when it first came out. It was the only exclusive after Bloodborne and Until Dawn I had cared about. Besides, like, the smaller ones, you know, Helldivers, Alien Nation, Resogun, stuff like that. I mean, Resogun was before a lot of those. I don't know, the Sony exclusives for the PS4 really did not interest me. They're almost all just very cinematic, story-driven games, and it's not really my personal favorite thing to play. I missed the variation, or rather variety we had with the PS3. Like, I don't even get any arcade racers or anything. Where's a fucking Motorstorm? I'm rambling. This is not a hard platinum. It's one of the easiest ones out there, so if you're gonna get this game, you should genuinely go for platinum, because there's not much else to do. It's a game with great visuals, soundtrack, and really good combat once you get used to it. And a good multiplayer mode they added. It needs some work, but it was fun. But yeah, fun game overall. Alright, now we have Helldivers. I got all the trophies, including DLC for this. This is a wonderful game that I adore. And the sequel's finally been confirmed, so it's very exciting to talk about this game and the upcoming sequel. In terms of Platinums, this is actually kind of a difficult one. There's only really one trophy I struggled with, which is, I don't exactly remember what it is, but it's to beat a level without ever triggering an alarm, but on a higher difficulty. I think like either 9 and up or 7 and up. Because how this game works is that when you spawn in, there are patrols of enemies wandering around, and if you don't kill them fast enough, they signal an alarm to their faction, of which then endless waves of enemies will just show up unless you run away far enough, or I think that's about it. And it can be a lot of fun, and a lot of times you want the alarms to trigger because the game is more fun that way, but for that trophy, I wasn't even going for it. I got lucky playing with a group of players, everyone using the same weapon, the one you're seeing on screen, which is kind of overpowered, and we managed to do it fairly well and get it without me trying. And was happy. It was a nice surprise, and then realized that all I'm missing are easy trophies. I could absolutely platinum this, and so I did. Happy I did. I adore this game. It's always fun to platinum a game you love, because it feels like you gave it the full attention it deserves. And Helldivers is a special game. Can't wait for its sequel. I'm sure it will be fantastic, and that's all I really have for Helldivers. Alright, Alien Nation, another top-down twin-stick shooter. I only missed a few trophies, and it's for like playing it in local co-op. I've never ever asked friends or brother rather to do it with me, because I keep forgetting, and I don't imagine it'd be that much fun. But this is a really good game. Came out, I think, a year after Helldivers, and so it got a bit of comparisons made about it, even though they're very different. This is much more arcadey, and it's more of a looter. It's got more Diablo influence than fucking Helldivers. But I've always liked it a lot. It's one of my favorites from Housemarque. Maybe not my favorite. I think I like Resogun and Nex Machina a bit more, but this is a very solid game, and it looks really nice to this day. This is not one of the nicer looking levels, but still. And the game's just fun. I think it lacks in a lot of ways. Like Helldivers has great music, but this game's music is just kind of fine. It's one of the weaker soundtracks from this studio. But the combat's really good. The loot system is very simple but satisfying. It's a fun game. I have nothing really bad to say about it. Just all around very solid. Okay, so from two very good games to a game I kind of fucking hate. Maneater. I wanted to like it. I was excited when this game got announced. From Tripwire, the people made Killing Floor, and it's a open world game where you play as a killer shark. It's like it's such a video game idea, and I loved it. But the game itself was kind of miserable, more just due to its technical issues. It doesn't seem so bad right now, but this game runs like complete crap, even on PS5. I don't know, maybe that was a bug with or something, but it didn't matter at that point. It was like too little too late. I already had platinumed it and was done with it very quick. You know, I just, it's a bummer, because it's a good idea, and it would be cool to see this as any other animal. Oh, Maneater, Lion Edition, Maneater, Tiger, or hell, Hippo Edition, or Alligator, or something, I don't know. It's just such a shame. It's also one of the uglier games for being underwater. It just looks... Can you see anything? It's pretty fucking blurry, ain't it? It's such a disappointment. Easy platinum, though. It's a collectathon. Just do everything, and you've got it. It's all it takes. It's a joke. I wonder if this one's gonna get me flack as well. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, the most recent game in the series. A game that, I'm sorry, I fucking hated. I wish I liked it. I like a lot about it. It's artistically exceptional, as it always is with an Insomniac game, graphically, all that nonsense. The gameplay is the best it's ever been. It's crazy how adding a dash to combat just makes it so much better for Ratchet. If only that combat was in a game I liked, like, say, Up Your Arsenal, Going Commando, Crack in Time, Tools of Destruction, Deadlocked, hell, fucking Into the Nexus. I don't like the characterization in this game. You could tell this game wasn't written by anyone who ever had played the old ones or cared enough about them, or even wrote the other ones. The new characters, I like a few of them. I like Kit, a little robot sidekick that you get a bit. She's the alternate dimension Clank, and I liked her, but I don't like Ratchet's alternate dimension Rivet. She's insufferable, and is the reason the fucking narrative falls apart. Oh, I'm gonna insult you, Ratchet, because you stopped looking for the Lombaxes. What's wrong with you? And even though they could have Ratchet literally tell her why, they don't. They have him clam up, even though there's games full of information as to why he stopped. Anyways, whatever, who cares? It's not worth mentioning. This game was a $100 waste of time. It took me fucking 10 hours to beat it and 13 hours to platinum it. It might be the biggest fucking waste of money I've spent on a game. I've bought some shit games in my day, and this is up there. It's just, it doesn't seem it, right? Because look how fucking slick it is. It's the most polished turd I've ever fucking played with, and I feel disgusted in myself.
Ratchet, I do not believe this is part of the show.
Alright, finally, some good fucking food. Medieval. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't think anyone really does. This is an old PS1 game that was remade for the PS4/5, since this was played on a 5. I personally really enjoyed it. I don't know. I have some memories of the original, mainly of a demo disc that we had, where I remember it being way creepier because of, you know, the old graphics, and I think there was actually blood in the original, even though it was like rated T or something like that. I don't actually remember too much. But I've always been kind of fond of it. You know, play as a knight who's undead and is trying to like redeem himself after he was the first killed in a grand battle, but everyone immortalized him as like this hero despite doing nothing. You know, it's a very simple kind of collectathon kind of RPG thing, and it's mostly fun. It looks great. You know, the PS4 version was a bit frame rate issue-y, but the PS5 version, or at least just the PS4 version on a PS5, runs quite well. Game's fun. I don't know. I had fun going for Platinum, and it wasn't too tough. It's another game that I beat in Platinum pretty quickly, actually. I got a lot of 13-hour Platinums. It's kind of shocking. But yeah, you know, Cool game. Alright, Killing Floor 2. I don't know why I decided to platinum this back in the day, but I did. And it is one of the tougher ones. Beating it on the highest difficulties, beating it as both sides in the versus mode, and then a bunch of collectible trophies, and getting to a certain level, and getting a certain amount of kills. Hell, I think there's a trophy for giving like $10,000 out during a match, or rather dosh. It sounds a bit too... It doesn't sound too hard, but the higher difficulties in this game are pretty fucked up, and it is unreal how unbalanced it is in the versus mode, to the point that I had my friend just stay still as the enemy to let me win. I don't regret it. Fuck it, I'd rather just have the fucking... I call that playing smart, so fuck it. It's Killing Floor 2. It's a game I've put more hours in than most things. I very much like it. I don't have much to say.
You'll still die. You didn't get hurt, but the test isn't over.
Alright, now we have Remnant from the Ashes. I didn't do too great on the DLCs, but they're a little grindier. I have not too much to say in terms of platinuming this. It wasn't too hard. It was fairly easy. I'm more interested just the fact that this game was such a surprisingly great game when it came out. Still love it. Still play it every now and then, especially with the anticipation of the sequel coming out in a few weeks from now. At least depending on when this video goes up. You know, it's a hybrid of like a third-person shooter with Dark Souls style kind of design to an extent at least, but they make it their own and they do a really good job of it. Great art direction, really great enemy and boss design for the most part, creative weapon design, the environments are a lot of fun to fight through and they're very distinct from one another, which is nice. It's very, very much a underappreciated gem in many regards, as more people than better people than I have stated before. But yeah, I love it. I was never planning to get it until my friend said that it looked kind of cool and maybe consider getting it, of which I did and loved it. And then he did and hated it, which was odd, but this is how it works out sometimes. I don't know. I love this game, and I very much am looking forward to the sequel. Alright, now we have Dark Souls 3, the third of, it's the third and final of the Dark Souls trilogy, so this is excluding games like Demon's Souls, Sekiro, and Elden Ring, Bloodborne. This is my personal favorite of the Dark Souls trilogy. I would probably say it's the easiest to platinum, though it is very grindy. It's a lot of collecting a certain amount, like all the spells, all the rings, and a lot of that has to be done through covenants, which is kind of tedious. Fortunately, it can all be done offline. Just means killing specific enemies over and over until they drop it, when the drop chance is very, very low. If you've played this game and gone for platinum, you probably remember fucking killing Silver Knights at the footsteps of Anne Rolando for hours on end, hoping they would drop a fucking ear of all things. I don't have much complaints, though. I honestly kind of enjoyed it, just putting a podcast on and killing Silver Knights and leveling up every so often because they gave you so many fucking souls. I have quite the collection of Silver Knight weapon, rather armor, since they don't have all the weapons in this for whatever reason. But yeah, not too bad of a platinum, just kind of takes a long time. But I love this game. I love this trilogy. It's sad to see it go, but I'd rather end with a high note than just kind of fizzle out. Weird order, but now we have Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin, the remaster, reboot, remake thing of the original game. They came out a year after. Dark Souls 2 originally came out on the PS3 in 2014, and then it got a quasi-remaster, thing in 2015, coming out a month after Bloodborne. I was eating good in 2015 when it came to Souls-likes. It was kind of wonderful. This is a game that gets a lot of flack. I think some of it is definitely justified, but I ultimately think the game is still great. The thing about From Software is that they typically just make good games, and if they do make something that's not as good, it's more like, oh, well, they didn't make a 10 this time. Those bastards, how dare they? They gave us a 9. So in terms of Platinum, not too bad. I wonder if you could hear that cat screaming in the background. In terms of Platinums, though, it's not too bad. It's more just collecting, again, almost everything. Rings, magic, shit like that. The key difference is that you have to get the DLC trophies. Well, rather, you have to get the magic in the DLCs as well. They don't actually have trophies associated with them, but because of this enhanced version, including all the DLC, they decided, I guess, make them collect all the new spells we added to DLC to count. So I had to do all that as well. I enjoyed it, honestly. It was fun going through the DLCs again and getting it all. I love this game. I love the trilogy, so no complaints. Alright, now we have Terminator Resistance, a game that, funnily enough, fans consider the third film in many regards, or at least the true canon conclusion people want. I mean, those films have a pretty iffy track record. The first two are great, third one sucks, fourth one sucks, fifth one sucks, and the sixth one is fucking rancid. This game was just surprisingly good. It's a hell of a redemption arc, since the studio that made it before this made the Rambo video game that was very much hated. I never played it myself, but I remember when that came out and everyone was just ragging on it because it's an on-rails game that looks like shit in this day and age, what the hell? I don't know, maybe it wasn't actually that bad in hindsight, but this game was surprisingly good. The art direction was on point, the sound design was great, the voice acting was fine for the type of game it was. Story was fine for, again, the type of game it was, but, you know, I just enjoyed how faithful it was, how they clearly really cared about the IP that they were representing and did a really great job with it. Could have been a half-assed thing, but they decided to give it their all, and they've earned a lot of respect over the years because of this. Their next game, RoboCop Rogue City, genuinely looks really great, actually. And it's clear that a lot of people are excited for it as well. It's kind of a really nice underdog story that's just nice to witness. Oh, and in terms of Platinum, I should stress this is one of the easiest Platinums out there. It basically just gives it to you. The hardest one is finding a door you have to unlock, which is the highest tier of, locked door. So just max out your unlocking skill, as well as stealth, because you need to get a stealth kill with a thing called a termination knife. But in terms of the unlockable door, it's literally a door that you can just walk around. It's like just a fucking wall with a door on it, and that's it. There's nothing else. And just opening it gets you a trophy. It's hilarious, but it's one of the easiest Platinums out there. But a really fun game that, if you're a fan of the series, you should give a shot. You'd be surprised how much you like it.
Alright, I left something ahead for you, so keep moving.
Alright, now we have Hitman 3, part of the Hitman trilogy, the modern one, World of Assassination. They're all actually now considered one whole game, which is preferable. Which is funny, because the only one of these three that has a Platinum trophy is the third one. Lord knows I would have tried to get the Platinum in 1 and 2, but they don't have that option. Most I could do is just get as many trophies as possible. I'm fine with it, I don't really care. 3 is the best of the trilogy in terms of the map design and at least the art direction for sure. I mean, the entire series is exceptional in terms of art direction, the level design. They stumble here and there, but ultimately it's just great. In terms of Platinum, I mean, it's not too difficult. It's a lot of challenges that need to be completed, and some of them are really easy, some of them are really hard, and some are kind of deceptive with how simple they can be. It's just, you gotta use your head. I've always loved these games because of the whole sandbox element. There's such a great variety to what you can do. They give you so much freedom to either fuck around, as you're seeing, and cause mayhem, or go for a perfect silent assassin type thing and kill no one but the target. It's probably my favorite stealth series ever. Okay, I shouldn't say probably. It is my favorite stealth series ever, though I half the time like to just play like an action game, but that's just me. Alright, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, a remaster of Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning, another THQ Nordic remaster, along with your games like Red Faction, Guerrilla, Remastered. I didn't platinum that one. I will probably never. That one's kind of more painful. But this game was a great time on the PS3 when I first played it back in like 2012 or something, and it's even better, I'd say, on PS4 since it looks a bit better, runs better, and they made a brand new expansion for it of all things that was shockingly good called Fatesworn. I didn't get all the trophies in that, but I did beat it and did really love it. It's the reason I platinumed this, because I got back into the game and decided I'm going to platinum it. And I'm glad I did. I really, really love this game, and it's the least I could do for it since it's probably never going to get a sequel, though I guess there is a chance now that THQ Nordic seem to own the rights to it. I would hope, please, let the people who made the DLC make an expansion. They clearly know what they're doing with this fucking IP, and they could probably make something really great. Who knows? In terms of platinuming it, it's not too hard. It's a lot of just doing certain actions like pickpocket 100 people, commit a certain amount of crimes, besides pickpocket. Maybe I'm getting those mixed up. Beat the game on hard mode. That was the last one I got. Easy enough.
I never wanted anyone to get hurt. I never meant for anyone to get hurt. But at this point, what's a little more blood on my hands?
Alright, we also got Elden Ring. This is one of the more recent ones since this game came out last year, 2022. Okay, not on this channel, but I have sung this game's praise many times. It's absolutely astounding. Not too tough of a platinum, though you have to beat it at least 3, maybe 4 times, since the game has 7, or I think it had 12 different endings or something. It's kind of nuts. While most of them are kind of similar, there are a few that are really different, and I got all that. I did it all. I had to. I don't know. I felt compelled. It's a fucking FromSoft Souls game. Well, I haven't done Dark Souls 1 or Demon Souls or Sekiro. Maybe one day. I don't know. I adore this fucking game. It's absolutely fantastic. FromSoft just knocked it out of the park. I can't wait for Armored Core 6. Not much to say. It's not that hard of a platinum. Beat a bunch of bosses, not even all of them. Get a bunch of endings, at least 3 of your choosing, kind of thing. Well, no, I think you had to get a few specific ones, like Duskborn and I forget. But not too hard of a platinum, and overall still just outstanding game nonetheless. Now we got Wreckfest, the only racing game on this fucking entire list. I mean, it's some variety, right? It's not a game about killing people. It's a game about smashing into each other's cars that might give someone head trauma, but who cares? Who cares? It's fun. Not the easiest platinum. I needed a friend's assistance since it unfortunately has a curse known as multiplayer trophies. Though there's only one. It's not that bad. It's just win 20 races. You can't really cheat. You can cheese it to an extent. I thought I would be clever putting bots on and just doing multiplayer that way, but nope. You have to have at least one player in the lobby or it doesn't track it. And so I got a few by just happenstance, and then my friend just let me win the last few, and there you go. I don't care. Fuck it. You put a multiplayer trophy in, I will find a way, if I care enough about platinuming it, to cheat. Don't care. Fun game and all the same. It's just, I love this game. Great racing game. Alright, next we have Ghostwire Tokyo from the developer Tango Gameworks. They made The Evil Within 1 and 2. And I never played The Evil Within 1, but I love the sequel. I want to platinum that one day, but I decided to platinum Ghostwire Tokyo for whatever reason. Not too tough, but a bit of a pain. You have to do... It's a collectathon, essentially, once again, but one of the collectathon things was annoying these ghost parades that just show up randomly in certain locations, but there's no indication where. It's a bit of a pain, but fortunately I managed to succeed. I mainly just like this game for how gorgeous it is, and I love wandering around talking to the fucking dogs and cats and occasionally fighting ghosts with magic from my hands. It's a very weird game, but that's kind of why I like it. It's very unique. I don't know. This game got a lot of criticism when it came out, but I never really. I don't know. I didn't mind the game. I thought it was much better than people gave it credit for. But I could see why some people wouldn't like it, anyways. You know, it's one of those cases of teach their own. And this game was definitely much more for me. It maybe doesn't help that it came out like a month after Elden Ring and is also an open world, and it's a much more conventional shit's dotted on your map, go do it type of open world compared to Elden Ring of go where you want and make your own path kind of thing. But I don't know. I overall very much enjoyed this game, and I have not much more to say. Alright, Killzone Liberation. How cool is it of them to port a PSP game to the PlayStation 4 and 5, and even be as nice to give us trophies so we can go for even more of a completionist angle. I didn't expect I would platinum this, but it was genuinely very easy. You don't even have to beat the game to platinum it. Technically, there's a fifth chapter that unlocks that, from what I could tell, seems to almost be kind of like a secret one. I don't know. People were concerned when this was getting announced if multiplayer would be brought back as well as Chapter 5. So it made me think Chapter 5 was going to be like this special campaign, of which didn't seem that special. And then multiplayer didn't return for, I guess, it's fine, whatever. I wish it did, just for the sake of, it might have been cool, but get a still pretty solid PSP game that for the time must have been pretty impressive, especially for a handheld. I enjoyed my time with it for the most part, though. Some of the design of the game is, it's kind of bullshit. I mean, it's an older game. It's just how it is, I guess. But I don't know. I still enjoyed it. It was fun. Alright, next we have Meet Your Maker, a weird multiplayer game where you build and raid dungeons in the goal of stealing people's loot. It's a very good, it's a cool concept, and it's a pretty good game at that. I don't know, there's not much to say about it. It's also just a really easy platinum, but I enjoyed the game when it came out. I haven't played it much since the platinum was earned, because I don't know, you get to do the same thing over and over again, but it was mostly fun. It's a lot more fun in co-op because you essentially get a second life as well, since you die in one hit to everything, but if you have a friend who can revive you, it helps. And it's just more fun in general to then play the higher tier difficulty ones with a buddy. And there's a great level of tension to this game, trying to go through this without getting one-shotted. I don't know, it's a fun game, but I don't see myself playing too much more of it unless a friend wants to. It's a very small file size, at least, so there's not much reason for me to uninstall it. But yeah, a good game overall. Alright, finally, we have the last game on the list, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Came out this year, got platinum only a few weeks ago, actually, maybe a few days even at this point. This is a game set in like a very much fictional imperial China, where you fight demons and famous like warlords from history in a more Souls-like Sekiro kind of inspired design. It's very good. This is DLC footage, which I haven't even beat yet. DLC is actually kind of tough. It's shocking, because the base game was pretty easy for the most part, except for a few exceptions, like Lu Bu and the first boss being kind of fucked up. But a very good game that I haven't played as much as, say, Nioh, the game from the same developer of this. No, I enjoyed this a lot. It wasn't too hard of a platinum. There were some issues with, like, it's some collecting stuff. Get all the dragon essence, get all the pandas, except they weren't, it didn't show you what maps you already had them on, so you had to kind of guess until a patch made it where you could see which ones you're missing, and I was able to get it that same day very easily. Yeah, I mean, this is how the list ends, with Wolong. Great game with a fairly simple platinum. Alright, so that wraps it up. There's not much else to say other than some games I'm working on platinums include Yakuza Like a Dragon, aka Yakuza 7, Isanzo, EDF, World Brothers, and so on and so forth. I don't know, maybe I'll make another one of these videos if I ever gain another significant amount of platinums over time. It's very possible. I'm also trying to platinum Synapse, a new VR game that seems plausible as a platinum. Very good game, by the way. But yeah, I don't know. This video took a lot longer to make because I had to reinstall certain games like Ratchet and Clank and shit, which were like 60 gigs. But it was also fun to go back to some of them again and keep them installed because I'll end up playing them some more. I don't know. It's just nice to see what games I did get platinum on. Thank you for watching this, and I'm not going to ask you to like or subscribe because I just don't enjoy that. But you know, I don't know how to end this. Goodbye.